What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. We are here for the 6th round of Season 2 and we're going to be at the Miami Grand Prix. This was where we scored our first points last season, and I'm hoping it's where we can get ourselves back into the points after a difficult couple of races. In China, obviously, we had the pole position, but then we slipped all the way down out of the points because we were just lacking in pace. And in Azerbaijan, we were scheduled to be having a pretty miserable race there as well if the sprint was anything to go by. Fortunately, it ended on the second lap, so I never discovered how that one would have actually worked out for me. And yeah, that means that we've had a DNF, which means a control electronics failure. Had to replace that component, and yeah, it means that it's been what, 3 races? Australia, I think, was the last time we scored points this season, and still we've only had 2 points finishes in 5 races, which isn't great for where we should be probably. And I'm hoping that we can get back into the points here in Miami. You know, it's a track I typically go quite well in, and for that reason, I see no reason why we shouldn't be able to at least grab sort of, you know, on the fringes of the points, maybe P8, P7, somewhere around that. I think that's got to be the target for this time. We'll see what happens, but we still are like a midfield car. You know, we're around the likes of. Let's have a look, shall we? See who's nearest to us. So we're just ahead of McLaren and Alpine at the moment. And then Alfa Romeo, Williams, AlphaTauri, all of those guys are also pretty close in that sort of mix. A little bit off the Ferraris. But yeah, it means all of the lower teams are sort of relatively close to one another. Dropping the difficulty here by 1 to reflect the fact that we lost a rivalry. In my defense, it was with Sergio Perez, who is, I believe, leading the championship at the moment. So maybe it's okay that I couldn't beat him in a rivalry, given that he's in the fastest car on the grid and leading the championship. You know, I don't think there's much I could have done really to stop him in my midfield Jaguar. But yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's raining in practice to start things off, but it did dry out eventually over the course of the session. However, that didn't really do anything, and you can see now as we go into the sort of results screen that I wasn't even in the top 14. I had people on hard compound tires going faster than me. We were the slowest runner on the whole grid by like 3/10 or something like that. We were severely lacking in pace, and I was thinking to myself, oh no, please don't let it happen again. I was really worried that we were about to be staring down the barrel of another Q1 exit like we had in Azerbaijan. That really hampered us. So yeah, I was really hoping that we would be able to at least get through to Q2 this time, because a Q1 exit for a car like ours is basically, you know, just, it's embarrassing and should never happen. Doing an engine upgrade here, fuel efficiency, that's going to be it's going to be good. It's going to mean that we can run lower fuel loads, and subsequently you know, we can hopefully have a bit more sort of straight line speed because the car's not quite as heavy. And yeah, here we are now moving into qualifying for the Miami Grand Prix. Now obviously we all know I get sponsorship bonuses if I get P15 or higher, and then another one if I get P10 or higher. So the goal here has to be to get through to Q3 as always. But you know, even if I can get through to just Q2 and get top 15, we should still be looking at a little bit of a financial incentive for doing so. So this is my first flying lap on a fresh set of soft compound tyres in Q1. You can see we crossed the line to do a 1:28.5. It's not the best lap I could have possibly done, I don't think, but it certainly is showing a lot more pace than what I had in practice. And in the end, I deemed that lap was probably good enough to see me through into Q2, so I went out on the same set of tyres again. We didn't improve, 3/10 slower, and we crossed the line to take, I believe it was P13? Yeah, P13. Okay, cool. So yeah, 13th through very comfortably. Not looking at the moment like we're going to be able to get through to Q3, but I do feel like I had a bit more pace on the table. I only needed to be sort of about 3/10 faster, and I would have been about P9-ish, roughly. So that's, you know, encouraging to see. And then out of the session, we are going to find out in just a moment. I don't know why I stopped here, but yeah, Albon, Piastri, Hauger, Fittipaldi, Sargent, and De Vries. So Hauger still being eliminated at the moment, but given that Piastri is as well, and the McLaren is supposed to be sort of a midfield running car as well, I think it really is driver making a difference at the moment. And I don't think they've done a stats update for Piastri yet to reflect his recent performances in Formula One. So yeah, here we go now on our first flying lap of Q2. We're on a fresh set of softs again, and this time I think we do a slightly better lap, slightly more representative of what my pace around here is truly like. It's a 1:28.0, and yeah, that again I deemed was going to be good enough to see me through into Q3, so I risked it. I went out on the same set of tyres again. We lost 0.6 on our previous lap, which was fine, but we still did manage to make it through in P8, so that was nice to see. And yeah, it means that not only are we through to Q3, but we also have 2 fresh sets of softs to attack the session with, which is very, very nice. If we'd have been a few hundredths of a second faster, then maybe we could have been ahead of Pierre Gasly there, but we were faster than Russell and Hülkenberg, not by much actually, only 0.2 ahead of Stroll, who also got eliminated along with Magnussen, Ocon, Norris, Bottas, and Joe. Really disappointing for Bottas there. He in the Mercedes, which he's kind of been drafted to try and help Russell defend his championship, and based on the run of form that Mercedes have been in pretty much every race since that first race of the season, it looks like there's no chance he's going to be defending that. As we now move into Q3, you can see I'm on another fresh set of softs. We'll be only fresh sets from this point onwards, and we'll see what kind of lap time we can do. It's a 1:27.9, so we're continually improving across all of the sessions, but I do feel like maybe I have another 10th or 2 in that lap, not too much, but maybe enough to move myself up the order by 1 place or something like that. You can see as I come into the back straight now on my final flying lap of qualifying, we are almost 0.2 up. If I can have a good run through this final sort of hairpin here, it's not really the final corner. I hate the way the corners are in Miami. We have a good run through here, maybe we can save a bit more time, but we braked a little bit early, and that kind of compromised our run a bit, which means we're only about 15 hundredths up now. As we come in the run to the line, we were into the 1:27.7s, but we could not improve up the order any. It's still P8, so yeah, not too bad, but maybe a little bit more.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Verstappen, Gasly, and Sergio Perez. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
That is agonizing. I was 1,000th of a second off of Carlos Sainz. 1,000th. If I'd have gone even, if I'd have just had a decent run through that final sort of hairpin corner, maybe I could have been P7 there. But it's not the end of the world. I'm going to get past him on the first straight anyway. We know how the starts work in this game. So yeah, starting P8 for the Miami Grand Prix. It's not bad. And it means that I think we have a pretty solid chance of scoring some points here if the pace translates through into the race as well. It hasn't really done that historically. Case in point being that Chinese Grand Prix where we fell 13 places over the course of the race. That was a really disappointing situation. But yeah, we will try and hold on to at least score a few points. If I can stay 8th, that would be ideal, but we'll see what we can do as we get into the Miami Grand Prix.
Welcome to the Miami International Autodrome, home of the Miami Grand Prix. This exciting track circumnavigates the Hard Rock Stadium, home to the NFL outfit, the Miami Dolphins. Sitting at the southeastern coast of Florida, the Miami International Autodrome has 19 corners and 3.36 miles of racing. It's a circuit designed to encourage close racing while meeting the highest safety standards. Either way, I am sure it's one which will please the fans. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Pierre Gasly in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Sainz, Robinson, Hülkenberg, Tsunoda, Stroll, Magnussen, Ocon, Norris, Russell, Bottas, Joe, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Hauger, Fittipaldi, Sargent, and Nick De Vries. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
choosing not to say anything on this occasion, I see. And I don't think Mark has anything to say here either. You know, we didn't finish in the points, so he's got nothing to say on the matter. And yeah, we're gonna probably just stick with the regular sort of strategy: 14 on the mediums, 15 on the hards, and we'll see if we can contend with the cars around us. Everyone who got through into Q3 is also on the mediums here. I think apart from Verstappen, who I think is starting on the softs. And that is because he only did one run in Q3 as well, and it was good enough for pole position, amazingly. But yeah, we might have some fast chargers behind us. We're starting P7 after a grid penalty for George Russell. Pierre Gasly actually ended up qualifying P2. I didn't even see that, but that is amazing from him. And yeah, we are going to see if we can maybe gain a few positions, maybe jump the Ferraris off the start. We'll see what we can do now as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a very good start compared to the drivers on the other side of the grid. Alonso and Sainz getting away poorly there, and we're already putting pressure on the cars ahead of us as well. Sergio Perez trying to go around the outside of Pierre Gasly. I'm going to try and go around the outside of Leclerc, and I think I've actually managed to make this move work. We're going wheel to wheel through the first few corners, but yes, we do manage to make our way up into P4, and that is 3 positions gained off the start. Amazing stuff. Perez is ahead of the ex-Red Bull man, Pierre Gasly, and yeah, we are just 1 position away from the podium places now, which is awesome for us. And to be fair, the Alpine is about as fast as we are, so there is every chance in the world that if we can hold off the Ferraris, who are a tad faster than us, we might be able to get ourselves onto the podium here potentially. And Miami is of course a track that in previous years' games I have scored podiums at. So this is not out of the question for us, I would say, to maybe put some pressure on Pierre Gasly to grab that podium place. Obviously, he was in the top 3 on sprint day in Belgium. As I went over the track limits there, need to be careful not to get too many of those warnings. Yeah, Pierre Gasly having a pretty good weekend in Belgium, I would say. And yeah, now his in-game self is reflecting that with a P3 running in Miami, as Verstappen leads from Perez, from Gasly, and then further afield from me we have Leclerc and Sainz, and I think it's Alonso behind those two, and then an Alfa Romeo in the 2 Hasses. I wonder who the Alfa Romeo is, doing amazingly well up in P8. I don't know if it's Joe or Bottas, but either way, they're having a very good time of things at the moment. But as we move through to lap 4, you can see I still managed to stay within DRS range of Pierre Gasly, and that is going to allow me to go for a bit of a send here on him maybe. He defends the inside, we switch back to the outside, we brake just in the nick of time, but we do go a little bit deep into the corner. We're going to be wheel to wheel. I'm going to get the better exit from the corner on the outside. We're still wheel to wheel as we come on the run through the final few corners into lap 5. Who's going to win out from this battle? Pierre Gasly seems to be keeping his foot in. He's going to try and go around the outside at the first corner. I'm still staying involved in this fight. Who's going to win out? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be Pierre? Who can say, as we still continue to go wheel to wheel, and eventually I do manage to get the position off him. But I doubt that's the last we're going to see of him over the course of this race. I really am amazed by how hard he was fighting that. You know, given that this is a track where you can just easily repass people with DRS, I kind of expected him to do exactly that. And as we move on to lap 6 now, I still expect him to do that, just 2 tenths behind me before we're even into the DRS zone. I've burnt quite a lot of battery to try and get away from Pierre Gasly as well, so I don't have that much to burn. And for that reason, you can see he's now trying to go around the outside as we come into the Mickey Mouse section. That's going to translate to the inside for the following corner, and then I can't really do anything to defend it, as Leclerc had a look up my inside there, thought better of it, and we're back down into P4 for the time being. But perhaps through this following DRS zone, we can make yet another overtake on Pierre Gasly. This is a big scrap coming out between me and him. We're both in fairly equal machinery, and I mean, the two of us clearly are both capable of getting this podium at the moment. You know, we're keeping Leclerc at bay, and I don't know who it's going to be as I make my way back through into P3 with the DRS. That one was a little bit trivial there, but yeah, this is absolutely you know, knife edge type stuff between me and Pierre Gasly right now. Neither of us wants to yield an inch more than we have to the other driver. And I mean, I don't know who's going to win out in this battle yet, but what I can tell you is that as we move on to lap 8, he had not relented, he'd not fallen away. I was not able to break away. You know, there's basically this track is only corners that my car wasn't very good at taking, or straights, which means he never was more than a few tenths behind me at any given moment, as he does what he did a couple laps ago once again, and I think he's mugged me off here 2 times in a row now, but I actually, this time, keep my foot in a bit more, managed to sneak myself back up the inside as we go through the chicane, and that is going to allow me to stay in P3 for the time being as we're in lap 8. But here's the issue with that. He's going to have the DRS now, so I'm actually going to have to burn quite a lot of battery to keep him behind. I think we're down to 30% on the battery. Obviously, some of that will get recharged when we come into the pits at the end of lap 14, I believe it's going to be. But, you know, we still have to try and hold on to some, otherwise we're going to be in a bit of a predicament. We do manage to hold him off at that point on lap 8, but on lap 10 you can see that things still aren't changing between me and Pierre Gasly. They are still just as tight as they ever were. And, you know, I really don't know who's going to win out in this battle between me and him. This time he's going up my inside as we enter the Mickey Mouse section. And we're going to be wheel to wheel once again. I'm going to have the inside line, but is that going to be the right place to be? It's going to switch to the outside for the following. And indeed, Gasly dives up the inside and has taken the position off me once again. This is absolutely amazing stuff coming out between me and Gasly. This is a really long battle going, you know, 7-lap battle going on between me and Pierre Gasly at the moment. And yeah, we're going to try and now get back past him again with the DRS. It should be a fairly straightforward affair. And yeah, by the time that we get to the braking zone, we are already a full car length ahead of him, and there's not much he can do to get back past me. So yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous, this battle. Maybe the best battle I've had so far on F123. If you're enjoying watching this battle, then why don't you like the video and subscribe? And hopefully there'll be even more amazing battles in the future of the series. But as we make our way onto lap 14, Gasly is actually staying out, which means I think I might be able to extend a bit of a gap on him as I'm coming into the pits for a set of hard compound tyres. If I can do a good outlap, then maybe we can extend the gap to over a second to him and maybe start to break away. And yeah, we're going to go onto a set of hard tyres, but there seems to be some kind of issue with the right rear, they said, and that has not only probably allowed Gasly to break away from me, but it's also allowed Leclerc and Alonso to jump me, and also Kevin Magnussen here, who started on the soft compound of tyres and has gone onto the medium compound of tyres, has also managed to pull off the undercut. So that is effectively 4 positions I have lost in this pit stop due to only a matter of 2-3 seconds worth of error in that pit stop. That has cost me 4 positions. That is absolutely terrible, because I think Stroll is still going to pit, and I think there's a couple others ahead. Hauger for one, and Ocon I think is the other one, maybe. No, wait, that's not Ocon. I'm not sure who it is. It's Stroll, Hauger, and the Alfa Romeo, who's just behind the Red Bull a bit further up the track. All of those guys are still yet to pit, so I'm going to be in P7, I think. Unless by some miracle I still manage to undercut Pierre Gasly as we make our way past Lance Stroll on those old medium tyres. I think he's coming into the pits at the end of this lap anyway. We have a horrible run through the final hairpin because there's not really anywhere for us to go. We're kind of boxed in by the 2 Aston Martins a little bit. Hauger's come in to the pits as well, and Tsunoda was the Alfa Romeo. Of course, I forgot that Bottas wasn't driving for them anymore earlier when I said it's either Bottas or Joe. I completely forgot that Tsunoda was, of course, driving for the Alfa Romeos now. But yeah, that did mean that Pierre Gasly was able to jump me in the end. And for the next few laps, up until lap 20, I was kind of just running in a bit of a DRS train with these guys who'd all jumped me. You know, it was Gasly and Magnussen battling over that final podium position, and then Leclerc, Alonso, and myself. And then Hülkenberg behind as well was kind of getting involved. These Haasers have made an amazing development this season. They are all the way up at the sharp end right now. I guess they've got 2 experienced drivers, which allows them to do quite a lot of development. But yeah, eventually I just kind of was like, I'm sick of being in this DRS train. So I just said screw it, and I said I'm going to start being a bit more aggressive. I'm going to go for some slightly crazier moves. So I moved to the inside here. I realize I've got a bit of space to work with, and so I dive up the inside of Alonso from a long way back at the hairpin. And we do manage to make the move stick, and we are up into P6 now. But I think Alonso is going to try and challenge us back as we come on the run down to turn 1. You can see he's by my wheel, but he just has to cede the position in the end. and we are through into P6. Now as we come onto the back straight again, you can see that I've got the DRS to Leclerc, and this time I'm actually quite close to him, and I think we're going to try and pile some pressure on him around the outside perhaps, but again I'm kind of being boxed in with Magnussen on the sort of in front of me, so that's not only held me up, but it also held up Leclerc, which has allowed me to keep piling the pressure on him as well as we go wheel to wheel through the final few corners on lap 21 into lap 22, and yeah, you can see that this is a big scrap coming out between me and him. I don't know who's going to win out on this one. Will it be me? Will it be Leclerc? He's still keeping his foot in as we go through the next few sequence of corners, but eventually he has to be the one to yield, and that is me up into P5 now. And as we move into the back straight on that very same lap, you can see that I'm now piling the pressure on Kevin Magnussen on those medium tyres, wondering if they're starting to go off just a little bit possibly compared to these hard compound tyres. And you know, Gasly has actually broken out of his DRS range as well, and as we go deep, that allows Magnussen to keep piling the pressure on me a little bit, but we have managed to make our way through into P4, so we've almost rectified that pit stop error now. We've just got one more position to make up back onto the podium ahead of Gasly, and then we will have fixed it. But Magnussen continuing to put a bit of pressure on, doesn't quite manage to make the move on that occasion, but yeah, we stay in P4. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. But unfortunately, what was going on now as we move on to lap 26, you can see that I have broken away from Leclerc and Magnussen and their DRS range, but I just can't quite seem to creep into Gasly's DRS range, as Mark tells me that Leclerc is slowing down a little bit now, which is going to allow Magnussen through as well. I just can't quite seem to get in range. The closest I was getting was like 1.1 seconds roughly, but I was never quite managing to find my way in there. And I was starting to get immensely frustrated with that because, you know, I really wanted to get into the DRS range to try and mount an attack over the last few laps. Even if I didn't make it, you know, the fact that I was on for a podium here potentially, and probably without that pit stop error, I might have still been on the podium, was very encouraging signs. But I just can't quite seem to close him down at the moment, and this was really bothering me. You know, I was like, this is an amazing sort of comeback story. You know, we have the pit stop error, we're pushed down into P7, and we still managed to maybe make our way into P3. That was the story that I was trying to get to tell here. And so I was pushing really hard, but no matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't quite break into Gasly's DRS range. And unfortunately, I pushed just a tiny bit too hard, and yeah, that is us out of the session with a mechanical failure less than 3 laps before the end of the race. Even P4 I would have been happy with compared to this. This is immensely frustrating, and what it means is the likes of the Haas's and the Alpines, who, you know, were ahead of us in the championship anyway, some people who we were definitely fighting with over P6 in the Constructors' Championship, are going to break even further away from us now, and getting this P6 in the Constructors might be all but over as far as that dream is concerned. And rightfully, I'm a little bit annoyed. I don't want to talk to anyone right now because that is incredibly frustrating.
Here we are then, a phenomenal Miami Grand Prix, and what a great show of skill from our race winners today. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They've performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
Well, that was a difficult pill to swallow. Sergio Perez, though, does win the race, leads home a Red Bull 1-2. He was battling with Max Verstappen for basically the entire race. And yeah, these guys are looking unstoppable this season, looking a lot closer to their real-life form, I would say. And yes, Pierre Gasly does end up on the final position on the podium. He's going to be very happy with that. But it does mean that that's an extra 15 points for him and an extra 15 points for Alpine in the Constructors' fight.
So let's review the updated drivers' standings. A result that will make Sergio Perez happy as he pushes his championship lead out even further. So let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for your driver of the day?
Well, there was a lot of incredible driving out there today, but if I had to pick someone, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Fantastic driving.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. It was also a strong Grand Prix from Haas F1 this weekend. Fantastic work from the American team to move themselves further up the table. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, Haas have moved themselves into P4 in the Constructors' Championship, which is absolutely incredible for them, but disappointing for us because I think that's a team that we might be battling with at the end of the season. We are 28 points adrift of Alpine, and if they hadn't have had that result and us have this result, it would have been, I think, let's say we finished P3 and they finished P4, we would have only been something like, you know, I'm trying to work out the exact maths. It would be like 10 points between us or something like that. So that is incredibly frustrating, but it is what it is. And that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.